Um, this answer's yes. Listen, this series could have been more competitive if Steph Curry was in and not injured, but he was injured, and Minnesota just dispatched of Golden State. I couldn't believe game three. The Warriors were up by 2 at halftime, and they didn't make a single three. And then Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle just did what he does. And Julius Randle's had the postseason of his life, and Minnesota is now in the WCF. We know one thing. The T-Wolves are built for Denver. We don't know if they're built for Oklahoma City. But in regards to Golden State, we talked about it when it happened. Jimmy Butler was a Band-Aid. It made them fun. It made them relevant for a little bit. They went on that little bit of a run at the end of the regular season. They beat a young Houston team. But we look at the West next year, and oh my goodness, the Western Conference is going to feature the Thunder, the Rockets, the T-Wolves, the Lakers, the Nuggets, the Spurs, the Grizzlies, the Dallas Mavericks, who we're going to get to in a little bit. Yeah, I don't think this Warriors team has any shot in hell of getting remotely back to a championship. They will never do it because he is like the Derek Jeter to that franchise, but they may seriously have to think about trading Steph Curry. Unless they want him to end his career with just competing Golden State and not winning championships the way LeBron seemingly will in LA. This team is old, and when they don't have Steph on the floor, they literally cannot score and are playing lacrosse players.
I like that you didn't include the LA Clippers and that when you mentioned all the other teams. That was
by the way, there's them too, because they're probably not going to be great now, but they got Kawhi Leonard and James Harden. I mean, come on.
I mean, why would you trust James Harden in a game 7? That's
you don't, but I'm saying regular season wise, they're going to be another one of these teams that are going to be battling between like seats 3 and 8, like they are every year.
Yeah. This is what part of the reason why the Warriors made the trade for Jimmy Butler was because if Steph goes out, the Warriors can count on Jimmy Butler, or at least they thought they could, to get them a game in a series like this. Because from what I heard, Steph was going to probably return for a possible game 6. So all the Warriors needed was for Jimmy to go for a game where he had like 20 and 10 in terms of.
Well, that was hope for them. It was never really confirmed. It was like we were going to rush Steph back if there was a game 6. Like that was the earliest he could have played, and he wouldn't have been healthy. So I said it as soon as he got hurt, felt like the series was over.
Yeah, I agree with you. I still wish Houston would have won that series against Golden State because that would have been a fantastic conference semifinals. But Jalen Green was an absolute no-show. I'm trading him if I'm the Houston Rockets. But that's
okay. No, this is a good conversation. We can talk about this because I wanted to bring this up because I haven't brought this up to you yet, and I want to know your thoughts. So, obviously, there's 2 big fish out there in the pond this offseason who could potentially be on the move. I mentioned them a little bit earlier, Giannis Antetokounmpo and Kevin Durant. I'm going to throw one thing at you, Josh.
Okay.
Because I think if Giannis is getting traded, it's either to San Antonio, who we'll talk about here in a minute with the lottery, or Houston. But does he sit back and he goes, the Cavs stink, Indiana's good, but again, like, how good are they really? The Knicks are good, but I'm certainly the best player out of anybody they have on their team. Nobody else in the East is really a big threat. Now that Jason Tatum's going to be out the whole year, does Giannis try to run it back one more year?
I don't think so, knowing that he's not going to have Dame for almost the same amount of time.
Yeah, that changes stuff. It's something to think about, though. Like, does he want to go out west? Because here's the argument. Do you want to go face all those teams I just mentioned? or would you rather get through maybe Cleveland or Indiana and give yourself a shot, even though you have not played great against Indiana the last two postseasons?
I don't know. From what I've heard, if the Bucks are going to trade him, it's going to be to a Western Conference team. I can't see them trading him to an Eastern Conference foe. They'd be silly to do that. But so it would make more sense for them, as Brandon has disappeared. But I'll continue here. If I'm the Bucks, I'm trading Giannis to a Western Conference team, not an Eastern Conference team. Giannis probably wants to go to a team like the Miami Heat, for example. But again, I can't see the Bucks doing that. I can't. You there?
Yeah. Sorry about those technical difficulties, folks.
Okay. But I was just saying, like, Giannis, I could see him wanting to go to a team like the Miami Heat, despite Heat culture presumably being dead. But I don't see the Bucks doing that and giving a potential challenger in the Eastern Conference an asset like Giannis. I get that Milwaukee would probably want either Tyler Hero or Bam Adebayo in the trade, but I can't see it. So it makes way more sense for the Bucks to trade Giannis to a Western Conference team like San Antonio or Houston.
No, I get that. Now if you're Minnesota, let's switch the conversation to them for a minute here. Who would you rather play between Oklahoma City and Denver? Do you care?
You know you can beat Denver because you did it last year. I believe they won the regular season series against Oklahoma City, if I'm not mistaken. I'll double check on that. But
Oklahoma City does have maybe the same, if not more, bench depth than you.
Yeah.
You might have the best player in the series, though. I mean, do you? I take Ant over SGA right now, personally.
See, I'm the opposite. I would take SGA.
And Oklahoma City has also not been there in a game 7, potentially, if they do defeat Denver tonight, and they haven't been in the conference finals.
So I was wrong. They split the regular season series 2-2, with both teams winning on the other's home floor. And they both won on their own home courts as well. So I think that would be a pretty even series. I don't know which I would rather face if I'm Minnesota. I don't know. Because I know both teams really well because they're in my division. Though I don't know how much longer OKC is going to be in the Northwest Division. Because from what I've heard, the NBA owners are going to start having discussions about potential expansion, with Vegas and Seattle being at the top of the list. I don't know if you've heard that.
I did hear that as well. Let's get to Oklahoma City and Denver. Tonight is going to be game 6. Can Denver force a game 7? I think they can. I don't know if they will. I think that Denver at points of this series has outplayed Oklahoma City, and you can make a case if it wasn't for game 4 that they should be up 3-2, and you could make a case they should have put game 5 away as well. The problem for Denver is when Jamal Murray isn't having a good night from the field and they don't get contributions from the likes of Aaron Gordon and Westbrook and Christian Braun, like they don't have that much of a bench to begin with, and Oklahoma City is so deep that over the course of the game, the Thunder are just wearing them down. That every time it gets close in the fourth quarter, Oklahoma City is just pulling away late because they have more energy.
Yeah, and they haven't stopped Jokic in this series. Obviously, he went for 44 in the last game, but they've played some really good defense overall in this series. Again, I get it. He went for 44, but they're not.
What they're doing is they're lowering his assist number. So, like I said previously, I couldn't remember if I said this on Brand's Word or if I said it on Championship Rings. Instead of Jokic going for, like you said, 44, 20, and 13, he's going for 44, 16, and 5, which the rebounding and the assists being down significantly. If Denver only has Jokic to go to, well, by the end of the game, he's out of gas because the poor man's playing 48 minutes and he's the only one scoring.
Yeah, and Denver struggles when they're playing with the non-Jokic minutes because they don't have another playmaker.
Yeah,
Now,
I mean, who's their backup big? DeAndre Jordan? I mean, he's about as useful as Tristan Thompson was for us.
yeah, that's no disrespect to Jamal Murray because he's been a big part of why the Nuggets have been successful these last few postseasons.
If they don't win the 2023 finals without Jamal Murray.
No, but I wouldn't say he's a top playmaker. Would you?
He's the second best of what they got in Jokic, and I think he's one of the top 10-ish playoff players. If you ask me to pick a roster based off players' playoff success, I absolutely love Jamal Murray. I think he's probably the most underrated player in the NBA. You want to talk about overrated with Halliburton or Tatum potentially. I think Jamal Murray is significantly underrated.
I think part of that is because he doesn't show up in those like big primetime games.
No, he shows up in those games. He doesn't show up in the regular season at all, and he's constantly hurt.
No. That's what I'm saying. In the big primetime games in the regular season.
Well, no one's really watching regular season basketball. I mean, ratings are down 50%, but playoff ratings are up over 100%.
So with Jamal Murray, for example, I separate him into two different categories. The playoff version, where I think he is a top playmaker, and then the regular season version, where I would say he's not one of the top playmakers. Because, in the playoffs, we saw it against the Lakers. I think it might have been in the series last year. He had 2 buzzer beaters to win for the Nuggets.
Here's the other thing, too. He needs to go back to being their number 2 and not Aaron Gordon. If Aaron Gordon can give you this production, but he's your number 3 scorer, Denver can win this series.
Yeah, but
I'm just going to say this. As NBA fans tonight, I think we should all be rooting for Denver. I think Game 7, with a Denver team that just made the championship 2 years ago, they fired their coach with 3 games left in the season. They have the best player in the world. They've already been for a Game 7 this postseason. To go up against possibly what the record books may show may be one of the best regular season teams in the history of the NBA, with the presumable MVP of the week, SGA, with that young crew, can they beat Jokic, who would be the MVP runner-up at home, and they're building in a Game 7? I think that is absolutely theater. Like, that to me is like Game 7 of the NBA Finals. That's what I see.
The facts that, we didn't get a Game 7 between the Pacers and Cavs were most likely, I don't want to write the Celtics off, but most likely not going to get a Game 7 between the Celtics and Knicks. We didn't get a Game 7 between the Warriors and Timberwolves. We kind of need a Game 7 in this series.
The fact that the 2 Game 7s of the first round were both complete wipeouts. Houston made it a game a little bit in the third quarter, I guess, but by the end, you kind of felt like Golden State was pulling away.
Yeah, and Game 7 between the Clippers and Nuggets ended up being a rout.
That's what I'm saying. So I think the league needs this. We both talked about the fact the NBA Finals is not at a Game 7 since 2016. I've said it now. This will be the third time tonight. I believe you are watching the NBA Finals in this series.
I as much as we're talking about we need a Game 7, I just think Denver is running out of gas. Jokic gave everything he had in Game 5. I know he's back at home, but OKC has shown that they can go into Denver and win. And I think the Thunder end it tonight, and we get Thunder Timberwolves in the conference finals. And that's that.
Who's your early win in that series, if that's the series?
I would go OKC. Probably, as right now, OKC in 7.
I actually agree with you completely on that. I think it would be Oklahoma City in 7. Again, I think I agree with you that Oklahoma City is going to win tonight, but I think it's going to come down to the wire. I think it's going to be SGA hitting a shot or Jamal Murray or Jokic missing a shot. I think this is going to be a very close game.
I would agree with you. The fact that the NBA Finals is either going to be OKC, Indiana, OKC, New York, Denver against New York or Indiana, or Minnesota against New York or Indiana, I don't know how the NBA feels about that, because outside of New York, those are all small market teams.